Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the next episode of the BettorEdge Copa America show by Messi and Co. I am here, as always, with my incredible co-host Gian, but we have a surprise guest today. As you can see, we have Xavier, who is also a very well-known Lemon City Live contributor. You can find him at Twitter at XGLAVOZ. Has always great thoughts as it relates to Inter Miami, as it relates to Copa America, these teams in CONCACAF and CONMEBOL. And so, yeah, we wanted to have him join so that we can discuss the first match day and what has been good, what has been bad, what has surprised us. A lot to talk about. And we wanted some more opinions. So welcome, Xavier.
Thank you. Thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm flattered. Appreciate the invitation.
Oh my God, of course. Well, I mean, look, like we've said to our viewers before, but we're very lucky and we get to go to most of the matches for Inter Miami at Chase Stadium, and we're in the press box with you as well. And we've just been spending so many times debating Copa America and the teams and what we think is going to happen and all these things that we're like, you know what? We just need Xavier on the show so that we can have the same
conversations. We've been having some organic conversations. Yeah.
I know, right? Because I think everyone is going to have an opinion as well. And so we want to make sure we share it. And I'll give people a couple minutes to join. While I will say this, though, before we talk about match day one and all of those, matches that happened and all those performances, right now, Canada is just about to come away with a really important victory over Peru, who were down to 10 men. Obviously, the first game of match day two. Canada, we talked about it in our last episode, Gian, that even though they lost to Argentina, they put together a really good performance and, played probably better than people thought. And, although down to 10 men, they still were a team who had a lot of possession, good forward movement, and they're going to get the 3 points. And, for all intents and purposes, are probably going to be able to advance or get close to advancing to the next round. So just really quick, Jesse Marsch, what he's doing already, it's pretty impressive. What is your thoughts about Canada just in these first two games?
Well, I think,
go ahead.
No, let the guests go first. Of
course, guests always first, please.
My bad. I was going to jump in anyway.
Get rid of all it takes before
Gian. Even in the CONCACAF, qualifiers and Gold Cup and all these other, although the USA, won the Gold Cup, I thought Canada was one of the better, if not the best team in CONCACAF based on the last few performances. And they have talent. They're a talented team. They were well coached and they are going to be well coached now with Marsch. He's getting something that's already been building, and now hopefully he can take it to the next level for them. Hopefully for us, not too high, so USA still maintains dominance in CONCACAF. But they are a very solid team, and I think overall CONCACAF has had a good showing so far. But I know we're going to talk about that now.
Yeah. Gian?
Yeah, same. I think Canada has surprised a lot of us. When I was looking at this Group A at the beginning and I was seeing Argentina, obviously I thought they were going to be top of the group. But then I saw Chile and Peru. Sorry, but I didn't really give Canada much of a chance going into this, seeing that Chile and Peru were in that same group. And then Canada did very well, surprisingly, against Messi and Argentina. They did lose. However, I thought that they were a lot more competitive. It was a lot closer game than a lot of people thought it would be. And I think that that's something that maybe they were able to take some positivity out of, and seeing how well they performed against the best team in the world. And that translating to a game like now where they're up a man, but still I think they did very well. And now as Group A starting to round out, we see that they and Argentina are alone at the top with 3 points. Peru's at the bottom. Peru's basically out now, and now Chile is going to play Argentina. Argentina could send Chile home packing as well, possibly after tonight. I think it's looking pretty good for Canada.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we knew, or at least, I knew as someone who watches a lot of the Premier League and English football in general, that Jesse Marsch, although he had some trouble with Leeds, he's a very good coach. He's a high level coach. He coached at Red Bull. He coached for Leeds, and there was a lot of talk of even him getting the U.S. job, that ended up staying with Greg Berhalter. But he's a good coach, and to get this, I think, result in really your first tournament of the cycle, and knowing that you have, the World Cup in 2 years, you have Jonathan David, you have Alphonso Davies, like, you have some players. So yeah, agreed. It was one of those sort of like surprising positive teams that we've seen in these first two games.
And he has a little bit of personality too, because he called out
Yeah.
Argentina after the first game, saying that they should be fined for taking like over 20 minutes to come out or delaying. So
Yeah.
he's not afraid. He said it. You can quote me, claro, whatever, all the newspapers, whatever you want. They
Yeah.
should be fined. So I like that. He's got a spunk, and that's cool.
Agreed. Totally agree. Yeah. So we're going to work backwards, right? So before we talk about the rest of match day 1, we're going to start by previewing the next game that is in match day 2. That's going to be happening in just under an hour, which is what we alluded to, Argentina versus Chile, and what's going to be for Chile specifically an incredibly important game, a game that, maybe they didn't know what was going to happen in this result, but to know Canada has those 3 points, they're in pole position, and Chile, which was already obviously not the favorite compared to Argentina, is even going to be even a little bit more of a hill to climb. So just initially, what are your thoughts on what the atmosphere is going to be like and how you see the game kind of unfolding?
I see a long night for Chile because Argentina, remember, twice Chile beat them back to back for Copa America titles. Denying Messi, those are the times where Messi was going through bad times in Argentina, where everybody was like, he can't win the big one, he can't win anything, and Chile beat them twice, right? And so I'm sure they're going to go out there today and just want to pound on them. Chile's not a bad team, but I think Argentina is gonna have no mercy. But they've made some substitutions, I believe, for this match, so we'll see how they play out. But I think Argentina is going to come out and just try to get a little bit of that revenge, even though it's past that, and even though they are the current champions, and even though they are the current world champions, there's still that little aftertaste there. So I think they'll feel a lot better if they can put it on Chile today.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely be a tough time for Chile if they don't figure out a way to, I think, use their physicality to and express it in a better way. Because when we saw that Peru-Chile game, it was very rough, very, both sides were going at it physically, but not in a good way, where it was just pausing the game too much. They weren't able to get a lot out football-wise. So I think that Chile has always been known as a very physical team, especially when you had, guys like Gary Medel, or you had guys like what's his face that he played in Barca,
King Arthur.
Yeah, King Arthur. Like they've been known to be a very physical team, but I just hope that when they play this Argentina team, they continue that physicality, but just in a smarter way that's going to allow them to play the right type of football. I think Argentina, was very merciful against Canada. They had a lot of opportunities where they weren't able to finish. Messi also uncharacteristically missed like 2 or 3 clear 1v1s versus the goalie. And I think that that's something that is not going to happen this game. So Argentina's probably going to finish those shots that they didn't finish in their previous game. Argentina is also notorious for starting off a bit slow in these types of tournaments. So I think the second game they're going to turn it up. So Chile is going to have to play a really good defensive game. And also, I think that some of the guys that are going to have to step up for Chile, Vargas is going to have to step up for them offensively. Alexis Sanchez, whatever's left of him at his age, we know he's in the round for a long time. Whatever's left of him, he's got to muster it all for tonight. So those two, I think, are going to have to be difference makers tonight to try to get the ball in the back of the net. They weren't able to score against Peru. Hopefully, they can score against Argentina.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to be really a difficult game for sure. And with that though, you mentioned him before. Obviously, the name of this show and this channel is Messi and Co. Right? So we saw in the first game some uncharacteristic misses and not finishing that we're not used to seeing from Messi. But he even admitted in his post-game press conference, maybe the nerves are gone. He celebrated his 37th birthday yesterday. Very positive vibes and energy. Xavier, do you think we're going to get a different performance out of Messi tonight?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure he's going to get on the scoreboard today. He's the greatest, right? He missed those 2 shots, like you said. I think that he's going to have a little bit of that edge, that chip, and he wants to
The better
get on.
edge.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get on the board today. I think that the team is gonna, play. They always do, but they're gonna play for him, play through him. He gave that beautiful assist, even though he had a bad game. He just, like nothing, a casual. Here you go, Lautaro, just score the second one. So I think he'll at least get on the board today. And if Chile can get a tie, that would be monumental for them. But I don't see it today. I just see Argentina is going to be motivated to take out some frustration on Chile.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think so too, especially with this result with Canada. Like, really, I think that they all knew that game was happening. They knew what the end score was, and Argentina, I think, would agree that they don't want to go into match day 3 not having a substantial lead over the whole group and being, the clear favorites. So,
I think that actually, just to add to that, I think that this is an important game too for Argentina because they weren't as in Spanish contundente, like they weren't as strong as we thought that they were going to be in that first match. And I think that now is a chance to kind of prove how good they are, especially when you're seeing teams, and we'll talk about them later, obviously, like Uruguay and Colombia just playing top notch. Like Argentina's going to have to prove that they're still the top dogs today, and that game 1 was just a little bit of rust coming off.
Yeah. Agreed. And look, what we have a lot of different games and groups to go through. So, and we obviously want to finish this before the Argentina game starts. So, I want to go to the next group, and then what we'll do is we'll end the show by giving our predictions and final thoughts for the game. But let's go then to Group B, which is Venezuela, Mexico, Ecuador, and Jamaica. Gian, I'm gonna let you go ahead and lead the conversation for this if you like, and tell us what you're thinking. I mean, I can only speak for myself. You kind of alluded to it in the preview where you even said that like they were better than people thought. I think Venezuela, being at the top of the group and getting 3 points surprised me. Mexico didn't surprise me, but it surprised me a little. And what was, I thought, a pretty, easy group compared to others in terms of thinking, okay, well, it's going to be Mexico and Ecuador who make it to the next round. It's maybe now a little bit more into question. And so, yeah, what is your thought as an Ecuadorian and just about, the team and the group in general?
So I think that obviously, as we stated before, Venezuela to me has always been a team that you can always kind of count as not being that big of a contender in CONMEBOL, and they've always been kind of like towards the end. But as of late, they've definitely grown their football. They've really invested into it. They've invested in their young players, and they're not the same team that you could count out from before. But having said that, I see this game against Ecuador. Ecuador goes minute 18, straight red card to Ener Valencia. We call him now Ener Violencia because of that ridiculous tackle that was unnecessary, and he leaves his team, Ecuador, with 10 men, basically the entirety of the game. Up to that 18th minute, Ecuador had quite a few chances. And in fact, the play that actually led to that awful tackle was a clear chance at goal by Kendry Páez, one of the top players that Ecuador has. So I think Ecuador is playing better. Even after that, going down 10 men, I think that Ecuador still was producing quite a few chances. They had 2 to 3 clear chances at goal. And really, Venezuela's goalkeeper is the one that kept them in the game. I still think with 10 men, Ecuador was a better team. I think towards the end, it goes down to the coach and his inexperience and him not, he came from Qatar. He didn't have that much experience as a coach leading top teams. And I think that he didn't manage the game well. Not because I'm an Ecuadorian. I still think Ecuador was the better team despite them losing. I'll be honest. I think they were the better team on that field. And I think that on paper, they're the better team. They have players like Hincapié on the defense. They have players like Kendry Páez, like what's his face? Moises Caicedo from Chelsea. So I think to me, they're still the favorites for Group B. They did take a big hit going into this. Now, when I look at what's going on and what we can look forward to in this group, look, Mexico and Venezuela have 3 points. They're at the top right now. To me, it's going to be really important for Ecuador to beat Jamaica. I think it's going to be very important because if they don't beat Jamaica, they're now at the mercy of results. And if Venezuela and Mexico even tie, at that point, Ecuador is out because they're both going to have
Right.
4 points if Ecuador loses. So I think that's going to be really important for Ecuador to beat Jamaica. And when it comes to Venezuela and Mexico, look, those guys are looking at who they're going to have to face if they if one of them loses. They're fighting for the top spot because the first in the group is going to face either Chile or Peru, because I think Chile and Peru might come out of Group A, if not Canada. Whoever comes in second in Group B faces Argentina. So I think that that's going to be also very important for Venezuela and Mexico.
And Xavier, what do you about Mexico? What were your thoughts from their game? And just
First, what he was mentioned, you're not the only one that thinks Ecuador was, is the better team.
was
Obviously,
better, yeah.
one man down, Valencia. When I look at that game, I think that there's room for Campana there on that team, but that's a whole different story.
100%. Yeah.
I definitely think that his profile for that team would be perfect. That 9 right there. But whatever the coach.
But
the
Inter
coach
Miami will
decided
keep
to-
him right now. I'll be
Absolutely, absolutely. He's helping us out, and we're happy with that. I thought that Ecuador had enough. Just silly goal. Venezuela is getting better, but I don't think they're there yet. Mexico wasn't fantastic, but they did what they needed to do. They got the result, and I think I had picked Ecuador first, and Mexico, in my previous predictions. So I still think it can happen. I think Mexico is solid, and they have a lot to prove because the coach, if they don't get through the group, he's gone, right?
Yeah.
So they have a lot to prove. I think Venezuela played a good game. They had a lot of things go in their favor. They're a much better team. You can't take them for granted. But I still think the top 2 teams there are Ecuador and Mexico at this point, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, so then let's move on to the next group, Group C, and I'm moving fast because we have a lot to get through, right? So this is one also we all have really had a second eye on, right? Because this is this is the group of the U.S. and so this is Uruguay, USA, Panama, Bolivia. I think like we talked about it a little bit off camera, Xavier, and so we have to talk about it now more. But of all the groups, I think the least surprising, right? In the fact that in the first match, both Uruguay and US won, and they won fairly comfortably, and that's kind of what we expected. But I'll start and say that with the US performance, that there was maybe I felt it a little more than I expected to. I expected it to be flat, and I expected us to get a win, but maybe just like a goal in the 80th minute when it was just like a tired defense. Like I wasn't expecting anything inspiring. I just because we just didn't have a good lead up to this tournament, and there's been a lot of talk. But while I think the US should have probably scored 4 or 5 goals, right? Like they definitely need to make some of those chances. From minute 1 to minute 90, they were completely in charge of this game and show that they were a far superior team than Bolivia, which we knew, but they showed it, right? Christian Pulisic had a world-class goal in the beginning, created so many chances throughout the game, just one of the best players that the US team has had in their history, right? Almost as good as he has the potential to surpass Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey in terms of their impact on the team. We'll have to wait and see. And then, Flo Balogun, someone who was starting to lose a little bit of confidence, right? He wasn't putting those chances away and showing that he should be the starting number 9, had a great goal with his left foot that shows his quality. Has a couple other chances he missed he can, hopefully capitalize on. But overall, I was happy with the performance, and I was thinking if they can take that confidence and make a couple more of those chances, they have a chance to win the group just as much as Uruguay. So that was my initial thoughts. And so, yeah, let's hear what everyone else has to say.
Yeah, definitely pleasantly surprised. I don't know if you recall when we talked about USA during the Inter Miami game.
Yeah.
Said that they're a team that steps up in tournaments, right? They play better in these types of events for some reason. Berhalter's boys were surprising. They came out, with a lot of energy. They came out with a lot of quality. Surprising because of the way they were playing, but not surprising because they have that potential to play this way all the time. They have the quality and the level of players to do this, right? When you have Gio Reyna, you have Pulisic, McKennie, Tyler Adams. You have there's talent there. Wea is playing at a higher level now than he has been with the team. He looks very dangerous, and the U.S. looked like one of the better teams in the tournament after all these games in the first round. To me,
To me
right?
too.
They look like one of the better teams, one of the more solid teams. Maybe the defense is lagging a little bit, but none of the teams are
And
perfect.
deep,
None of the
very
favorites,
deep.
right? And none of the favorites are perfect. So they look like one of the better teams. I thought that they did what they needed to do, which is handle a weak Bolivia team. So we have to understand this is the weakest team in South America, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't take away from their performance because
Right.
they had to handle it. They didn't play down to the competition. They controlled the game completely. The only thing, I was saying in the previous game, where Campana has room in Ecuador, I think Brandon Vasquez has room in this team, but I don't understand why you don't have that type of player on this squad. Burkhalter, he got the first game. Let's see how they can. Well, Polishik, uh, I believe that this tournament can be his breakout tournament.
Yeah.
Breakout meaning because we all know he's a very talented player. We all know he's the face of American football right now. But I think in this tournament he can show the world against top quality competition that he is a quality player. I'm not going to put
Agreed.
him at the elite category yet. I think he has the potential and all the skills to be there, but he has to prove it on the pitch. And the first game was his first step in that direction. Let's see how well he continues to play and how far he carries his team. But he's definitely one of the players to watch in the tournament.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would say that obviously I concur with Xavi here. They played against Bolivia, who is the worst team in South America. So we do have to take everything we saw with a grain of salt and add some context to it. I think that's important. I think that for me, this match and seeing how USA played was both reassuring and a bit doubtful at the same time, just because of the fact that we did see USA, a team that a few weeks ago lost 5-1 to Colombia, tied 1-1 with Brazil. They didn't look good a couple of weeks ago. So I feel more reassured seeing this team do better now against Bolivia. They seemed a lot more connected and locked in than they did the previous few weeks. So again, another positive note to see there. We saw Pulisic, as you mentioned earlier, with his amazing goal and setting the tone from the beginning, which I think is really important. So I really like that. But then when I look at the other side of the coin and I see them face Bolivia and only be able to score twice, miss a handful or more than a handful of really good opportunities to score. I mean, they dominated the entire game. I don't even think Bolivia sniffed the goal. I think they didn't really have too many chances, but the fact that the US had so many opportunities, especially in the second half, and they weren't able to finish them. We saw that Pepe came in as a sub, and he, I think, had like 4 or 5 opportunities. He wasn't able to put the ball in the back of the.
Yeah.
I think that those are things that they're going to have to make sure they work on and make sure that when they have those opportunities that they do finish them, because that was against Bolivia. They still have a match against Panama that's not going to be as easy as this game, and then they still have to go against Uruguay. So
Yeah.
if they can tweak those things and take advantage of those opportunities, I think they've got a good shot. But all in all, I'm leaning towards it was very positive, but room for improvement.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I think, to your point, Christian Pulisic by the end of this tournament can like cement himself as the best player in CONCACAF, right? He can do that. And that would be pretty high praise and pretty impressive. And I think also how they do against Panama will be a really big judge too. I mean, Haji Wright is someone who can finish, Josh Sargent, if he's healthy enough. I mean, he
Good
just
players.
absolutely balls for Norwich. Like he has the potential and he's just had injuries, I think, the last couple of years that have plagued him, but he's an excellent finisher, Josh
Good
Sargent.
player.
And so it'll be interesting to see. But overall, if I had to give it a grade, I would say like A minus for the first game, where it was better than average, and I was from minute one showed dominance and showed ability, but didn't get the A or A plus because they couldn't finish all their chances. But if they can keep at this level and hopefully slowly raise it each game, be able to get a couple more of those chances tucked away, it was a much better start than I was expecting. So that's where I think we can leave it. But we can talk about the other team in the group who also had a good performance that we were expecting, which was Uruguay. who, as far as we're all concerned, really is probably the second-ish, maybe with Colombia, second or third favorite to win this tournament behind Argentina, with, Darwin Nunez, Valverde, Araujo, a lot of really, talented players leading their team. What was your thoughts on the overall win for them against Panama?
Okay, first of all, before I get into that, Polishek has to cement himself as one of the better players in all of the Americas, because not just in
Yeah.
CONCACAF, but in all of the Americas, because he has that type of talent. So he needs to do that. He needs to do that in this tournament. Now Uruguay had the handfuls. I know the game, 3-1. It seems like it was an easy game, and it wasn't. It was not,
No.
because Panama was a very physical team, and they've always historically been a very physical team. But now they have more quality. There's more quality. There's more technical players, and they gave Uruguay a handful. I thought they were very surprising, and they played pretty good, despite the lopsided loss. But Uruguay, I think, did, once again, the term, they did what they needed to do. I don't think they were great. I don't think they looked amazing, even though they have all those players. Like Gian said, they're similar to Argentina, that they kind of start kind of slow. If you call a 3-1 win slow, but they start kind of slow, and they build up, and they keep getting better. So they just put three on them, set plays. You didn't know where it was coming from, and then boom, boom, boom. I mean, the first goal was a goal that was fantastic. That
Fantastic.
that changed the whole game, because Panama was playing them toe to toe, eye to eye, was there, and you couldn't really see where the goal was going to come from for Uruguay until that fantastic play, occurs. And that's why these teams are always favorites, because you have these type of players that can do those things in these type of key moments, right? And change the game. So I think Uruguay, looks solid. They're always very solid defensively. Midfield is awesome. You have Nunez, who's one of the top strikers right now. So that's why they're one of the favorites. Argentina, to me, continue and has to be the favorite, because when you have Messi, when you're the world champs, when the same team is there, they have to be the favorites. Uruguay, to me, is second. I'm from Colombia. I wish Colombia was to me, would be the favorite. No, but I think Colombia comes in at third, because they have to do it. They have to prove it. Argentina has 16 Copa America titles. Uruguay has 15. Colombia has 1. So I cannot put them as a favorite until they do it. And I think they have all the tools to do it. But to me, they're third. And Brazil, because Brazil looks kind of average right now. That's the only reason I put them above Brazil. But Brazil is always one of the favorites too. So Colombia is there in the top 4, but Uruguay is a stacked team. Uruguay is a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I think that Uruguay just played. I think they played very well, not to their fullest potential, which is, I think, opens up a big door to, like, they could possibly beat Argentina. So that's why I think
Oh
it's going to
yeah.
be important to see how Argentina plays in the second game, going back to what I said previously. But hey, Bielsa has this Uruguay team playing at a blistering pace. They play
Yeah.
so fast. The moment that they get possession back of the ball, they're all running, and the transition into offense is incredibly quick. I think that that's, to me, one of the things that I've noticed the most about this team. Also, their ability to press really high. They press so high. They forced Panama to make mistakes. And not only did they force Panama to make mistakes with that high press, but the fact that as soon as they recuperate that ball, when they press them, they commit so many bodies to the offense on the counterattack. And I think that that's what makes it different from a few of the other teams, where they might have a high press and they might be able to get the ball back, but their counterattacks are maybe 1-2 players. No, Uruguay has everybody, Araujo, Nunez, Pellestri, like everybody going up. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what makes them so dangerous. Now, for me, that first half was impressive. Then comes the second half, and Panama, for like 30-35 minutes, had a few chances there to make it a pretty interesting game. So I think that I don't know if that was the lack of concentration or what that was uh, from from Uruguay, but it was a much closer game than when you look at the score and see that 3-1. It was close there for a while, again, for about half an hour or so in that second half. And then obviously Darwin Nunez comes in and scores that goal in the 85th minute, and then, kind of puts it away there. But I think that Uruguay, kind of like Argentina, the better teams, obviously, but they've got something to prove in their next game, and they left some room to get better. But still, a top team behind
Yeah.
Argentina in my eyes.
Yeah, I think so too. And we'll do, after we go through the last group, Group D, we maybe can talk about what are some of probably like the most important matches in match day 2, that can really set the tone for the rest of this tournament. But we obviously have to talk about one of the biggest stories of these opening games, which was Group D: Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. Colombia won convincingly, in my opinion, against Paraguay. And then, obviously Paraguay got a goal back. And so, they probably could have put it away even more so. But I wasn't really in doubt during most of the game, like similar to the US game. I didn't doubt that Colombia was going to win in some way. They were going to win. And that just is the sign of a good team. There's definitely improvements that they can make, but the sign of a good team. Brazil, which we all expected, and especially in those first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, they're going to wipe the floor with Costa Rica. They're going to score and score and score. Ended in a 0-0 draw. And although there was some talks, obviously, about the Brazil team not being at the same level and aura as previous ones, you still have Rodrigo, you have Vinicius Jr., you have Paqueta, you have Bruno Gomes, really good players. You still have Marquinhos, Allison in goal. They should win this game 10 times out of 10 by a big margin, and they didn't. And that, I think, is a big surprise and shows that, whether it's Colombia or Uruguay or even the US, a couple teams have a chance to really actually make it to that third spot or the semifinal and really, be a wild card that, didn't feel like as much of a possibility before they started. It felt like those were going to be the last 4 no matter what. But now it's looking, Brazil looks really vulnerable. Which of those 2 matches surprised you the most? Was it Colombia winning, but barely, or was it Brazil tying?
Well, it's surprised, yes. Brazil, Costa Rica, because Costa Rica is the youngest team in the tournament, so they brought a team to get experience, of a team to build for the future, and you're going up against guys that are superstars currently in the world stage. Even so much so that after the game, the Costa Rican players were in awe, and they went to the locker room for Brazil to ask for autographs, to take pictures. These young kids, and they ran into Neymar in there. It's like, so that was surprising. They should have found a way to win at least 1-0. Like, what we say, let's say Colombia. I think, as I transition into that, I think Colombia played a good game. I think they didn't play as good as they had been playing coming into the tournament, which is a little bit upsetting for me. They controlled the game, but Paraguay also, you have to take into consideration, is a very good team. I think they're better than people think because they have several good players. They're always defensively tough. They defended, and they're that's my little 3-year-old just walked out. They defended Colombia really, really well, made it tough for them, and Colombia found a way to stay. After the first 2 goals, they maintained, but they didn't do anything spectacular. So I think they have a room to grow.
Okay, what about you, Gian?
For me, I really loved the way Colombia played. But first off, I just want to kudos to all the Colombian fans, man. That stadium was drenched in yellow. That was insane.
There's 3 home teams in this tournament. There's Team USA, Team Mexico, and Team Colombia. They're all playing at home.
100%. That was, I mean, and kudos, because it was a Monday afternoon, 5 p.m., 100-degree weather. Like, they showed up. That was like, I thought for a second, like, did they put Colombia jerseys on the seats? Like, how they give away shirts and stuff? Because that was full. But yeah, just kudos to them. I was watching with my wife's family. She's Colombian from Barranquilla. I was rooting for Colombia the whole way, and I loved how they played. I think they played really well. They played that 4-2-3-1 with Borré up top that I think worked really well. Lucho Diaz and Arias on the wings are extremely fast, extremely good at creating, and just add so much versatility to this Colombia team. Obviously, James Rodriguez, one of the biggest difference makers I think I've seen in a while. For a while he wasn't playing in La Selección because of injuries and different things, but he makes a world of a difference. His passing ability, I mean, the way that he centers the ball, it's like he puts it like perfectly with his hand almost. Like, it's just it's crazy. So I think that I really enjoyed that game. Colombia has beaten Paraguay 3 times in a row to open in Copa America, so that's a team that they're used to. They know them well, obviously from playing them in eliminatorias, and hey, they extended their streak to 24 matches unbeaten, which I think is just is crazy. So I'm putting Colombia right at the top. For me, they're the top 3 teams right now, above Brazil, above USA, above Ecuador, right up there with Argentina, Uruguay. And yeah, they looked amazing. And Lucho Diaz continues to be a great and an amazing player. Just offensively, this team is just really so cohesive. They're doing so well, and I'm excited for them. I think that they can make it a really long way in this tournament, and they're definitely one of the favorites.
What about Brazil? Were you surprised?
As far as Brazil, and I'm not sure if you agreed with me when we did that first episode previewing, but for me they were a flop from the beginning.
Yeah, I agreed, but I still didn't expect this.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that they flopped. I am surprised that they played so poorly against this Costa Rica team that on paper they should have won. There was no way you were expecting Brazil to tie against this Costa Rica team, to, as Xavi said, is the youngest team in this tournament. They had lost 9 straight to Brazil coming into this tournament, so everything pointed to them winning. But I think that Brazil, for me, and we maybe it'll bring some laughter to you, but what Ronaldinho had said, that he wasn't going to watch his team.
Crazy. That's crazy. He said that.
That's crazy. He said that, but I mean, he said it because he thought it was the worst team in a long time that Brazil has had, and I agree with him. You have Vinicius, Rafinha. I'm sorry, as someone that is a Barca fan, he's not that good in my eyes. I don't.
It's more show than anything else.
Yeah, he's more show than anything. Rafinha isn't the big thing. Rodrigo, okay, he's good. He's not a superstar. And then you have Endrick, that is supposed to be like the next superstar. He's still young. Exactly. They're not giving him a lot of playing time. This is not the Brazil team that we're used to, with Ronaldinho and these superstars. So regardless, though, I didn't expect them to tie. I expected them to win. I think it's still early on in the tournament. Obviously, one game, we'll see how they go, but I could still see them coming out of Group C. But outside of that, I don't see them, getting into like semis. For example,
the mystique is gone right now.
Nobody's afraid right now. Nobody's afraid of Brazil.
They don't have anybody that you look at and you say, "Wow, this is a generational talent. This is an amazing player. This is."
Yeah,
and Vinicius Jr. I think is probably one of the top 3 players in the world.
Wait, but Vinicius, look at his track record
in Brazil, though.
Right.
Look at his track record with Brazil.
No, I know.
I don't remember the exact figures, but he hasn't scored in I don't know how many games. He doesn't do anything in Brazil.
Yeah, which is interesting because he does always really do it for Real Madrid. So yeah, we'll see. I think they're I want to transition. Like I said, we're going to end with Argentina versus Chile, but I want to transition to outside of that match. What of the next sort of 6 matches for the rest of match day 2 do you think the most important, or will make the biggest difference in this tournament? And I have 2, and then I'm curious to what you guys will say. One is Panama US, and this is as a US fan, as someone who has an actual rooting interest in that specific team. I think that if the US beat Panama and beat them well, dominantly and comfortably, and showing that they're far superior, I give them a chance to especially if they're going up against a Brazil or something like that, maybe make it to the quarters, maybe make it to the semi, just put together a couple good results, maybe even beat Uruguay for that winner of the seed, right? Maybe they win in an elimination game, I don't know, but maybe for that 3rd game they could even have the confidence to finish top of the group, which then gives them a lot more options as it comes to making it further and further in the tournament. So I think that's a really, really important game for the US team, and just to see how that sort of fizzles out. And then secondly, we just talked about it, I think it's Brazil versus Paraguay. I think that in order if Brazil don't have a good performance and they don't beat Paraguay, I think it really opens up that half of the bracket and really starts to make it wonder, like, what are the elimination rounds going to look like? Who is going to be the favorite making it out? Are there going to be more upsets? So I think in terms of just all of the games that have different levels of importance, those are two that I'm going to be looking at and being like, wow, these results I think will dictate a lot of what we'll see in the rest of the tournament.
It's June, July madness, right? You're gonna,
Yeah.
what you just mentioned, Brazil, Paraguay. That's not a given.
No, it's not.
What I saw from Paraguay versus Colombia, I thought I saw a very structured team. I saw a very strong team. I saw a team with some young players that are hungry for glory and are very talented. And I didn't see. There's a young forward, a young tall forward. I forgot his name that they have. I didn't really see him. So they have more. So I think that's a tough game for Brazil. That could be the nail in the coffin. That could be where Ronaldinho says he's not going to watch them for the next 3 years or something like that. But absolutely, I think Paraguay has a chance. So that's a scary game. When you say USA Panama, what worries me more about that game is USA getting out of there healthy, because Panama is a very physical team, and if USA gets on top or is controlling, they're definitely eliminated. Basically, they might get a little physical. That's the only thing that worries me. But they're a quality team also. I think it's going to be a close game, just like they did for Uruguay. They're going to come out strong. They're going to come out physical, and USA has to answer, and they're going to have to play a different kind of game. They're going to have to continue to move the ball, but they're going to have to be a little stronger too.
Yeah. No, a huge test for them, I think, and just their overall seeing where they stack up in this conference.
And this game tonight, Argentina Chile, it could also be the end of Chile. Chile, I picked them to be the second team coming out of the group because of the tradition, because of the history. They have a rich history. They're one of the better clubs. I mean, better countries in South America soccer traditionally. And if they can't do anything and Argentina puts it on them, then they're gonna have to. That rebuild process is gonna start, like knock it all out and start again, because Alexis Sanchez cannot be the face anymore. You would say the same for Colombia and James, right? I think James is a little bit younger, but James is playing, when he plays with the yellow jersey, he plays at a different level and takes it to old school, back when he first played with Real Madrid, where that lefty was one of the best lefts in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever got the credit he deserved, because he started great and then just went downhill. He downrailed his career. And I think he's making an amazing comeback. And that's one of the best storylines in this Copa America, because if he is to lead, Colombia to a title and continue to play at this level and continue to be, the great player that he has always been, it's a great redemption story. It's a great turnaround, because there was a point where, half the country, they love him or they hate him, right? I was always in the middle. Because I loved him, but I hated him too. So I love to hate him, because I thought he became too arrogant. I thought he became, distanced from his teammates, from his motivation to be a great player, like to seek glory. I thought he had lost that when he gained the fame and the money. And it looks like he's humbled, and it looks like he's making a turn, and he's gotten that group together, and they love him. So that would be a great story, not just because I'm Colombian, but because it would be a great story. And yes, because I'm Colombian too. I'd love to see them win.
Agreed. And what about you, Gian? What matches do you think are most important?
Yeah, I had a few coming into this conversation, and some of them you mentioned. Obviously, the USA Panama game is of the utmost importance just for placement. And as you said, if they need to make sure that they face Brazil instead of Colombia. I think they have a better chance against Brazil than Colombia. Then going to what Xavi mentioned in Argentina, Chile, obviously because of the repercussions. If Chile loses, they're basically out. So I think that's going to be important from Chile's side to make sure that they can continue with their chances in this tournament, but also Argentina to show everybody, hey, yeah, this was a slow start. We're going to be better and just come out as the Argentina team that we expected. And then, so just going also off of that and looking at some of these groups, to me, like Group C is already ready. It's Uruguay and USA. Group D, Colombia and Brazil are coming out. I'm looking at this Group B. with Venezuela, Mexico, Ecuador, and Jamaica. To me, those are the two important matches I'm gonna focus on. Venezuela, Mexico, they're fighting for the top spot right
Yeah.
now, and obviously, neither of them wants to face Argentina, so they want to make sure that though when they play each other, they're gonna go all out to make sure that they face maybe Chile or Peru or even Canada instead of Argentina. And then Ecuador, Jamaica. Ecuador has to beat Jamaica. If they don't, as I mentioned earlier, they're basically out and just relying on what other teams do. And then if Mexico and Venezuela tie, they're out for sure. So I think that those two games in my eyes are Venezuela, Mexico, Ecuador, Jamaica. This Group B is right now the one that's most in question as to who's going to go and move ahead. The others are kind of starting to round out after the first match day one. It's crazy. This tournament is so quick like that. After one game,
I
you can
know.
already start to see who it's going to be. But yeah, a lot of really good games coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be really exciting, and we're already going to be ready for the to recap the rest of match day 2 in a couple days. But before we go, and thank you again, Xavier, for joining. It's been such good discussion. There's so many, there are some that, like we said, they're they're dead giveaways who's going to advance and how far they're going to make it. But I think there's just a lot of performances where there's a lot of hands at play, right? And we don't and just one game performance can completely change your confidence, your if you're a flop, if you advance. I mean, look, if Argentina, not only do I think they need to win, but I think they need to have a dominant performance, or else people are going to think that they're vulnerable, and as they progress through each round, they're not going to be as scared of them. And I think that's on their mind too. They need to show that they are the clear favorites and that it'll take a lot to beat them. So yeah, this is gonna be really exciting. Before we go, let's all give our score predictions for this match of Chile versus Argentina. Xavier, as the guest, I will start with you.
Man, I'm thinking a 3-0, 3-1. I want to give Chile a 1 so they can get 1 in. But I think Argentina is going to control this game and dominate. Messi's going to show up. He always shows up, but he's going to put it in the back of the net today. So I think a 3-1 for Argentina.
Gian?
I have a lot of Chilean friends, so I feel bad saying this, but I really think that Argentina, some of my best friends are Chilean. But Argentina, I think, is definitely going to come out very dominant. They have to. And I think that they're going to make those that they were missing against Canada. So I think it's like 4-1.
4-1. Wow. All right. Well, I'll fall somewhere in the middle where I think it's going to be 2-0. I don't think Chile is going to score unless you get, a moment of brilliance from Alexis Sanchez. But I think that it's going to be, the Argentina show. And I think, I don't think they're going to score 4 or 5 quite yet. I think they're still kind of, working on the training wheels. But I think they will definitely win, and they'll win 2-0. But we'll wait and see. And as always, we'll be posting on social media. Make sure you're following us at Twitter, at Messi & Co, Twitter/X, YouTube, 5 Reasons Sports, notification bell on, TikTok, we're there too. And then, Xavier, please give yourself a shout out. Let people know, where can they follow you? Where can they get your exclusive content as well to be able to get your football commentary?
Thank you. On Twitter at XGLavoz, LAVOZ. And then lemoncitylive.com. You can get all on there, all the sports, not just Inter Miami, all the local sports teams. You can read about the Panthers' big win.
I was about to say, quick shout out, congratulations to the Florida Panthers, NHL.
Amazing, right? Amazing. And then they take the Stanley Cup to the tropical, to the beach.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny.
That's the most
South
hilarious
Florida
thing.
has won a major trophy in every professional sport, which is pretty cool.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I was nervous, to be honest with you.
I was watching the last 5 minutes, like biting my nails.
But that's great. But thank you once again for the invitation. It was great talking to you, and it's always great when we're in the press box having conversations.
Agreed. So this will be exciting. We'll be here for every step of the way with Copa America coverage. But for this episode of Messi & Co, the BettorEdge Copa America show, we will see you next time.